Face Forward Media. This is Healthcare Musings. I'm your host, Dr. Hashem Hasabala. Welcome, everybody, to Healthcare Musings. I'm so happy to have you with me. So on Healthcare Musings, I've tried to look at the healthcare system from, I'm a physician, so I'm part and parcel of the healthcare system. So how does it function from a from a doctor perspective, clinician? I hate the word provider. How about hospitals? So I had Ken Kaufman on. How about payers and providers? Insurance. So I had Jeff Alter, the CEO of Sound Physicians, on. And I have yet to have the perspective of the patient. Where is the patient, which is the center, really, of the entire healthcare system, is the patient. That's why I got into healthcare, is to help the patient. And I really haven't had the patient's voice until now. And I'm really honored to have Mr. Matthew Zachary on the show to give me and give us and the audience the perspective of the healthcare of the patient. Mr. Zachary, I have his bio up here. He has spent 3 decades fighting to make the American healthcare system less cruel, organizing millions through advocacy, activism, and media. He's a former concert pianist whose life was turned upside down by brain cancer at age 21. He founded Stupid Cancer, the largest nonprofit for young adults with cancer. I wish I had known about it when my daughter had cancer. My eldest passed away from B-cell lymphoma. He launched the Stupid Cancer Show, widely regarded as the first healthcare podcast. So I'm now dealing with the godfather of healthcare podcasts here. That's why I'm so happy to have him here. He produced and then later evolved into the award-winning Out of Patients. He produced Cancer Mavericks, a documentary series about the rebel patients who changed modern oncology. He is CEO and co-founder of We the Patients, a national movement organizing patients into collective civic power. And he's author of We the Patients, a forthcoming book, Understanding, Navigating, and Surviving America's Healthcare Nightmare, which will be published in May of this year by Wiley. And I had an advanced reading copy of the book. It is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Mr. Matthew Zachary, thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the show.
You're hired, bro. That was great.
Very happy to have you. If there's one word I can summarize when I was reading the book, is anger. Are you angry at the cancer? Are you angry at the healthcare system that you had to deal with the cancer? Is it both? Kind of help me understand. Is that even the right word?
Yeah, I mean, anger is always a great word when it's used for good. By the way, murder bad was like the byline through my entire book. Let's not murder CEOs, but I think that was such
100%.
that was like ripping a Band-Aid off a wound moment for this country, where everyone was just like, the kids got a legal defense fund and fangirls now. So I think there's a place for anger. Some you can't control, some you have to figure out what do you do with it. And there's a quote in the book, but from Mr. Rogers, which is, what do you do with the man that you feel? And I've always loved that quote. And at the end of the day, yes, I was angry when I was 21, and everything I hoped to be doing that I spent 11 years building was shot to shed. And it was like disappointed, angered. Why? We have to live in that space. We got to give ourselves some grace to have that level of why me, or why now, or why this, or whatever. The question then becomes, why is it this way still? And what can I do with that anger that I have? And the human condition is we respond more to emoting than to parlance. And I'm an ad guy. I'm a theater kid. I'm an artist. I live and breathe in empathy and emotion. And when we're on stage, it's not about us, it's about the audience. And we're able to conjure up the characters to give the audience what they need to experience what we'd like them to feel. That doesn't really happen in healthcare, because it's not like a store you're choosing to go shop inside of. So what I did with the anger I felt when I realized I could do something with it, it took 10 years. And that was once I found Livestrong. I'm like, where the hell have you guys been? Why are we doing this? If someone like me dies, I'm sorry, like if someone like me gets what I had 10 years later, nothing's changed. That was the second spark. I realized through Livestrong that if some 21-year-old kid with brain cancer got what I had in 2006 versus 1996, they'd be just as screwed in terms of isolation, fear, insurance, costs, survivorship, quality of care. And that was what I did with the math that I felt then was I started the movement based on anger, not based on violence, but based on if we don't do it, it won't get done. We're pissed as shit. We don't want wristbands. We don't want yellow. We don't want pink. We don't want blenders. We don't want M&Ms. We're Gen X. Fuck y'all. We're going to do this shit together. And that's how I think it can be done right without turning to violence. But these days, 20 years since even then, there's way too much reason to be very angry because we've lost the autonomy of our own decision-making power. And that's the entire purpose of why I wrote this book, is that American healthcare has devolved and not evolved. Medicine has evolved. Healthcare has devolved, where it is now the single most detrimental arbiter of our outcomes, and we don't even get to make choices that we want. That's worth getting pissed about.
Wow. I mean, no doubt. The most compelling part of the book for me was your story about your cancer. And as a doctor, I'm reading the symptoms that you had, and it just kept, and I was just like, I'm like screaming at the book, like, to get an MRI, dude. What's going on? Like, why? And of course you're young, you're strong, you barrel through it. It's just so that it took so long. I mean, for my daughter, she had a genetic condition that predisposed her to cancer. So I was looking for it for 6 months. I mean, every 6 months I got a CBC, I was looking for it. And then when she just wasn't right, we found it, right? But even then, she was initially misdiagnosed as, she's just tired or whatever. And even her genetic condition was they took a while before we found the right clinician to make the diagnosis. But it was so shocking that your symptoms had to get to such a debilitating state that, and I'm not blaming your doctor. I wasn't there. I didn't see you, right? It was just from an outside observer who happens to be a physician. It was just really surprising.
I'm forgiven medical science for not understanding that a concert pianist that can arpeggiate has brain cancer. It's hard to connect those dots. And, in the spirit of forgiveness, yes, I don't look at why it took so long. And I actually found peace with that through Livestrong and through the young adult cancer movement, in that when you're not pediatric and when you're not adult, there aren't really a lot of ways to think that this could be something more triggerably actionable medically, because it's likely not that 99.9% of the time. It's so infinitesimally unlikely to get cancer in your 20s and 30s proportionally to other age groups out there. It's less than 5% of all annual diagnoses. First and foremost, we get different types of cancers. Most of them are undetectable, mostly blood cancers and sarcoma, soft tissue things you can't detect. So scientifically, it was easy to rationalize and intellectualize that, of course, they didn't think that the pianist who couldn't play had brain cancer. I had to go through these things to be taken seriously. But that is the story of young adults. Even today with the late onset colon cancer, it's being taken seriously, which is great. We want that. But at the same time, the false negatives and false positive conversations, of course, it is just so emphatically unlikely. And no one likes to hear that, but that's just the truth. So it's not okay when it happens at all. But the system hasn't really been structured enough to detect, oh, this kid's, their gait is off, let's do a scan, versus some 18-year-old kid in college, oh, we just had a drink last night.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just finished reading Gil Bash's book as well. I know you had looked at it
Yes.
about the healthcare system, and it was great. And I'm going to have him on the podcast as well. I'm part of the system, right? I'm here trying to take care of patients as best I can. And I've experienced a lot. I mean, I was with my daughter was getting chemotherapy. That was before the Affordable Care Act, where you could be kicked off for a pre-existing condition. Where between residency and fellowship, and then I got my first job, I was terrified because my daughter had been diagnosed with ataxia telangiectasia. She had a lot of immunosuppression. She needed a lot of very expensive medications. And I was terrified to be not like 10 minutes with a gap in insurance, because then they'll just deny her completely and I'm on my own. So I lived with that fear. And then when I'm getting six-figure hospital bills for every week of chemotherapy, I'm literally logging into my insurance company. I'm not going to mention the company, to make sure they didn't kick me off. Like
Yeah.
that kind of stress. And I'm a physician, and I was already in practice and earning a good living. And still, I would have been bankrupt, been devastated if anything like that. And I was so worried about that entire time. I can I that kind of stress. I lived through that, and people don't have that so that kind of a stress is not there. But it made me disheartened that from your perspective as a patient, that the system is just so anti-patient. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, it was built that way. It was never meant to be about the people they're trying to help. Yeah, again, in the book we talk about how even since like Teddy Roosevelt in the 1910s, they were trying to get universal health care or some variant of that into societal, structure. It's been what? I can't do math though. 40 years since that time, right? 130 years math. So
Hmm.
it's just not something that's been in the interest of the American economic sort of benefit world. It's in the economic benefit of the business world, not the citizen world. And I think it was Kaiser Permanente or one of the Permanentes, Richard Nixon in the 1973 HMO Act codified this. You know what? Fuck the people. We're just going to make money off their illness. And we're going to jack up their prices and we're going to build this profit margins. And then it just kept getting it descending further into madness until ACA, which wasn't perfect. It was a total giveaway to the insurance companies, which is a separate conversation. And even today, as recording this, they're still trying to pick it apart. I don't remember the number. Like they tried to repeal it, 80,000 times or something like that.
Yeah, they
They
keep
keep
trying
chipping
to.
at it. I'm terrified they're going to get rid of pre-existing condition. We're going to go back to the way it was in the Stone Age, where, yeah, good luck, Godspeed, you're sick, go away. We're at that precipice point now in America where they could just one stroke of the pen with this lunatic. I mean, for all you can hate the man 7 ways to Sunday, no one's 100% horrible, but with one stroke of the pen, he could just goodbye pre-existing condition, goodbye, override the Supreme Court, override everything. So this is terrifying. And I don't expect the average American to understand this, which is the whole point. It's like the average human, they don't know we exist. They don't know we're having these conversations. They just don't want to get fucked. They don't want to go bankrupt. They want to live their lives. They don't ask to get sick. They want their kid to get their asthma inhaler. They don't want their leg to get fixed. They don't want to get $1,000 bill. They just want to live their lives. That's 99.999% of America. Just want to live their lives. We're the wonks having these conversations out here. The fundamental challenge is enshrining how that anger gets infused to the voter bloc because they don't know what to do with the mad that they have about this, with their premiums going up and their kid getting denied their asthma or insurance deciding, no, no, we know better than your doctor.
Oh, I experienced that. There was I'm trying to get this medication for my son, and no, did he get the technical tests, the breath test? No, but I'm trying to do something to prevent him from getting something more invasive, and they're like, nope, nope. And I'm a physician advisor, so I write appeal letters for hospitals. So I'm in this space, and I just like, you know what, man, I'm gonna get it on my I'm gonna get it on my own with good RX, right? It was and just try that, because it's just so it's I mean, I share as a consumer of healthcare, I share that frustration, and I'm in it as a physician. Um, to change it though seems to be very painful, very expensive. Is that who cares? Is we have to? I mean, what do you think?
Everything in this country is about the transfer of money and power. That's all it comes down to. It's never what we want. It's who profits when it happens. That's all. That's America, and this is uniquely America. I mean, other countries are, they can be royalty and whatever, like kings and queens and shit. That's different. If we're gonna just own what this country has become, nothing matters except money and power. If you can figure out where the money and power gets shifted, you can figure out what you want this country to be doing. Period. End of subject. And I've never been I've never really understood states' rights. I mean, I'm not a constitutionalist, but yeah, great. Do your thing. Make it eugenics. People live here, they're dumb. People live here, they're smart. The roads don't work there. The roads don't work there. Fine. Good luck with that. But the states are really where, like, the incubation happens of these ideas of shifting money and power. So until now, the general populace of this country has never really had a unified way to talk about how American healthcare has turned into American harm care or American denial care. Denial is the business model now. It used to just be like, fine. And every time they get a chance to chip away at something that gives them more profits at the expense of someone's life, they'll do it. There's no one regulating it. They're in the pockets of these people. They own these people. There's nothing that can happen. But the people have never really been organized before around the single issue of, should your insurance harm you or should your insurance help you? And what does transferring money and power do under that circumstance when we organize as a voter bloc to say, go fuck yourself? That's the theory in the book.
So, for the year after my daughter died, in addition to processing the grief of her loss, I was dealing with bills, and the insurance would, this is not covered, and I have to, in the bill they make a little footnote, and then they just say this is not medically necessary, or this was bundled into whatever. And then what they did is her oncologist, who was new, just out of training, had not yet been credentialed by the insurance company, but in the same group as his more senior partners. So they made him out of network. And when he saw her, he was amazing. When he saw her, they tacked it to the out of network deductible. Then I had to go back to the office. This is again the year after my daughter died. He'd go, can you please bill it under your name? And that was, and I knew the system because I'm in it. I deal with it and I understand it, but most people aren't in it. They don't know. They don't understand all these codes. Sometimes I don't even understand when I'm reading denial letters. I don't understand what they're talking about. It's just overwhelming, and there's no one to help them. Is that what you're trying to do from a granular level, or more from a legislative remedy to this?
The theory here is based on a lot of Ralph Nader's work in the 1960s, which is that better can be cheaper. Safer can be cheaper. And what does that mean in American healthcare? And let's pick oncology specifically, because that's kind of like my wheelhouse, rare disease or whatever. Is the average person that gets sick is dumped into the system expecting to know how to dog paddle. Not even swim, to dog paddle. Most just drown. If someone taught you how to swim before you jumped in the pool, and then someone was in the pool with you to help you learn to swim before you even got to the hospital, what could that possibly mean? What if there was a system that would upstream that prepared you in advance to be handed off into the store? What if there was a university you went to that someone else did for you, that screened your finances, that screened your insurance, that pre-cleared you with everything, that fought your things? Something like 80% of insurance denials that are appealed or overturned, 80%. But only 0.2% of denials are appealed.
Yeah.
And those 0.2 are mostly by doctors like you. So if we were able to figure out a way that every single person entering the oncology store had an instant human there, or a bot there, or some structure there infrastructurally upstream that auto appealed every denial before it even happened, it would break the industry. If we created protections from the harm of delayed deny that wind up costing more money to the hospital, to the doctors, to the states, to the people, by creating a dam upstream, you would avoid all of these things happening because that's what they expect you to do, jumping in, not knowing how to even dog paddle. So it's a thought piece on the just supposed we created consumer protections at point of care, before point of care, upstream of care, where if you didn't have to go in immediately to get surgery and you had to get some tests done and things like that, increasing the potential that your denial, which is pretty much certain at this point. I just did a piece yesterday that as of this taping, United Healthcare is investing $3 billion in AI denial platforms right now.
Yeah.
If there's a way to look at how economically we can save money by ensuring every single patient appeals by default, we will increase that 0.02 even to 1% would break the system. So that's the theory. The theory is let's start thinking upstream because we're already dealing with people that are dog paddling or trying to dog paddle.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, for my son's medication, I could have appealed. I didn't because I'm just too busy. And I'm just like,
Right.
you know what? But I have the
Well, they
means. I have
expect
the
you not
means
to.
to.
That's the business model. They expect you not to. What if there was a system in place that did it for you at the state level because it was a cost benefit to the state's economy?
Yeah, no, that's a very intriguing thought. That really is an intriguing thought. A lot of the customers, when I talked to Jeff Alter of Sound Physicians, he used to be in the payer space. A lot of the customers of these payers, a lot of them are actually employers. Their employers are self-funding a lot of this. Like my employer self-funds our insurance, and I hate. I can't stand the denials and the insurance that the denials that I go through, but it's self-funded. It's our money, right? And they're just trying to be stewards of our money. A lot of employers, they're self-funded. It's not just the insurance company's money. They're saying, well, we're just trying to be stewards of the insurance money to lower the premiums for the next year, and my premiums keep going up anyway.
Right.
So like I'm just being devil's advocate. They're just trying to save the employer's money, which is where most people get their health care. And I don't know that people want to spend the amount of taxes it's going to take to be able to fund the healthcare system, or are we just putting the money in the wrong place?
See, I'm not smart enough to have the answer to this question, which is why I'm building a team around We the Patients as a movement, which is that if Ralph Nader was able to convince the auto industry that we know you hate spending money on people when they die, but it's cheaper if they don't die. Let's do it this way. Oh, we don't care if they live or die. We're just going to save money. What does that mean? And I keep going back to the state level. Another stat that we quote in the book was from Stat News. $30 billion a year are wasted in unnecessary denials and the reclamation of those denials. 30 billion.
Yeah, I mean,
divided by the states, divided by oncology.
I'm getting paid for that. I'm getting paid for that. That's part of what I do.
Yeah. So divide that by the states, divide that by the number of cancer patients, divide that by the number of X, Y, and Z. There's a health economic concept here too, where just get rid of that, reclaim that waste that's going to the PBMs and the insurers, back to the employers, back to the health systems, back to the states. I'm quite sure that a state that sees 50,000 medical bankruptcies a year doesn't like the loss of income tax and payroll tax and mortgage tax. They don't like that. There's probably, I don't know those numbers, but how much money is lost every year in the states to families going bankrupt and living on GoFundMe just to get by because they don't want to die. So this is not necessarily about pricing. It is a little bit about transparency, which is also part of this too, which is if you're getting triaged before you even enter the pool, they're going to make sure you get the cheapest thing with the most value. They're going to see where all the middleman markup crap is. Cuban and I go back and forth like fun guys on LinkedIn here and there, but he's right that the middlemen have taken over. The middlemen that do nothing but sop it up like the Monopoly guy, which, by the way, did not have a monocle. I know that's one of those weird things where you think the Mandela effect had a monocle. Did not have a monocle. And these fat cats are living in this space, just taking all this money from us, and that's why things cost here. And I'm not a brand ambassador for Cost Plus, but what Mark Cuban's done is I get some of my meds for a tenth the price. Just cash pay. $10 for 90 days instead of $30 for 90 days. Same fucking thing.
It's I know it's this medication I'm going to give with GoodRx. It's way cheaper than if I just went
Yeah.
retail.
But that's the whole point.
How
is,
come?
again,
How
we go
can they
back
can? They're clearly can make a profit. So how come?
because they can get away with it because it's legal. Probably because of something with Citizens United. I'm fairly sure that's the end all be all of all corporate fuckery is Citizens United. It's a separate conversation entirely. As having been in advocacy to say everyone should know this is bullshit, that doesn't matter anymore. We can't keep expecting someone to just be their own advocate. Like you had to be your own advocate as a doctor in the system who knew everything already. I forget that senator's name, that guy from North Carolina. He's a surgeon. He's in the Senate in North Carolina. And that was that C-SPAN popcorn eating day where they were excoriating all the executives of the top 5 companies with the break up the banks thing. He's like, I'm a surgeon and a sitting member of Congress. And it took me 5 months to get a medication I need to exist. Just imagine the average American, right? Like this, but they don't see the opportunity here that's explicitly in the book, which is it's time for the American patients to organize as a voter bloc and have civic power for the first time. Very much like and not akin to what the NRA's done in single issue. They don't care if you're gay or straight. They just care if you're pro-Second Amendment. Like, I don't care if you voted for Trump or Biden. I care that you don't want to die on hold because your insurance company denies your care. This is what I believe is a missing civic piece of American populace right now. So that way, we don't have to expect you to be an advocate. No one expects you to have to worry about crossing a bridge. You just know that you're protected because it's in the state's interest that the bridge doesn't fall down.
Right.
American healthcare, American harm care, American sick care, American deny care, what do you want to call it? They're just placard words that mean nothing but just the ones like us and anyone watching this show. People just want to be safe and live their lives and be tax-paying citizens and buy their Pringles and all that shit, go to Disneyland, do their stuff. If we start thinking about healthcare as an infrastructure in the States, it's about safety first, and safety is always cheaper. Then they don't have to worry about being their advocate. They're just not going to be in harm's way as much.
No, that's very important. Patient safety is very important to us too in the healthcare system. What's your so again, the patient voice? What's your advice to me as a physician to help make it better for my? I mean, I'm in the ICU. A lot of them are trying to die when they come into me. Many of them are comatose. Some are not. What advice do you have for me to make the experience better when you have
you're
to
already
navigate
drinking the
the
right
American
Kool-Aid, though. So I'm part of a documentary that I also plugged that I'm proud of called Suck It Up, Buttercup. And Mark Cuban was in it with Wendell Potter and a bunch of other burned out doctors who either are suicide survivors or lost colleagues to suicide. It's a massive movement you're probably not unfamiliar with, of everyone that's expatriated from into private practice or just consulting into industry because of health insurance and it's crushing bullshit in practice. And the other enemy of that documentary is private equity buying up the hospitals and squeezing them dry and killing rural areas, right? That's something you can do as a physician if it doesn't impede your employment, which is, again, the problem here, is join the burnout movement, which is adjacent to the We the Patients movement, because patients don't want their doctors to be suicidal. I'd rather not add another thing to worry about and me dying. Is my neuro-oncologist is suicidal? No, please, no. Right? And I can get away with saying it that way. It's not funny. It's tragic. This is unique to this fucking weird country we have to love. But what you can do as a physician is stand up with other physicians who are challenging the PE takeover of health systems and join We the Patients, the voter bloc. You don't have to be a cancer patient to be pissed at healthcare. You don't have to be a patient to be pissed at healthcare. You are a father, a bereaved father. You are a medical professional. You work in the industry. There's no reason why you yourself wouldn't want to jump on the bandwagon of creating America's largest voter bloc in history around no one dies on hold.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. What? How are you doing? How are things going for you?
Personally,
Yeah, like how's your health? I care about as a doctor. I care
okay.
about how things are
Well,
going with you.
your timing is great, doctor. I just had my annual physical. I had an EKG of a 16-year-old for somehow all the radiation that I went through somehow. My heart is 29 years old. I'm
That's
51.
fantastic.
My cholesterol is 187. I'm on no medications for it. My blood pressure is 126/79 in the morning with no food. My tries are 71. I get the HDL, LDL wrong, but I'm a little high in that, but that's been systemic for 40 years. So I probably have some genetic something. I should go on losartan or whatever for that.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't complain. I have a little spasm in my back from playing piano, rehearsing for my concert. For those listening, if this airs before April 28th, I'm doing a concert and a book launch at up by Lincoln Center. It's on my website. Occupational hazard being a pianist for going back to playing again. And I feel like it's like a Festivus airing the grievances. If I had one more thing to complain about, gratefully to be 6 feet above ground, or maybe 5'8" above ground, so to speak. 30 years out, no one knows how the hell I'm still alive. Maybe I'm chosen, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm lucky, maybe I'm not, whatever it is. Every day's a gift. I take nothing for granted. My daughter's off camera here. I look at my kids every single day. I'm just a blessed, happy dad. I feel every pain you have, having gone through what you went through. Nothing is okay. There's no fucking Hallmark card for any of this shit. But this is the human experience that we were all born into. And I have to rationalize this, having watched so many people die and having so many friends pass, and not just family, running a movement of millions of people, you can't not unsee half the shit. You have to go back to comedy and humor. And everything is inane, everything is the absurd. And Yogi Berra said it best: if life were easy, we'd all do it.
That's fantastic, and I think you're reading your book, reading Gil's book, just inspired me again to always remember it's the patient first and try to make the patient's experience as best as possible, to try to be as compassionate as possible. They didn't want to be there. They don't want to be in the ICU. They don't want to be critically ill. They don't want to get cancer. It's a very, as you get into the drudgery of seeing people and dealing with documentation and writing notes and billing and insurance denials and all those things, it's very easy to get to lose sight of why I am in the field, is to take care of you. And so thank you for your advocacy. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for reminding me why I'm here in the first place. I will list your website in the show notes, but how can people find you, and what can people do from here?
Well, I'm the only Matthew Zachary on the internet, apparently. And maybe that's because I was on Google in 1998. I don't know if there was a Google back then, but MatthewZachary.com is my nexus point. My new book, We the Patients: How to Understand, Navigate, and Solve America's Healthcare Nightmare, drops on May 19th. Available wherever books are sold online. And that's it. Please read my book. Get to know me. I'm here to help. Join the movement.
Absolutely, and I'm honored that you had some time for this podcast. This really means a lot to me, and thank you for reminding me always why I'm here and what I need to do. Mr. Matthew Zachary, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Air Doctor, my pleasure.
Thank you for listening. Sign up at healthcaremusings.com to get every episode delivered directly to your email. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you so much.